Okay, well, it is 10 o'clock, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. This is the Chamber of Commerce for Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows. Our Talk of the Town. It is our current alternative to in-person networking. So we bring people online to discuss what they have going on with their businesses or organizations, and we do record it, so it is shared via our YouTube and social media channels, as well as our newsletter, which goes out tomorrow. So all that information, including the slides and the video, will be shared there. So with that, we're going to get started. We have 3 presenters today. And first up, so just for the presenters, if you're not presenting, if you can just mute and turn off your video, and we'll get started. So our first presenter is Maria Perretta with the Ridge Meadows Seniors Society. So go ahead, Maria. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Flori. So my name's Maria. I'm the Executive Director of the Ridge Meadows Senior Society. We operate 2 drop-in, well, not so much drop-in anymore, but 2 activity centers, one in Maple Ridge and one in Pitt Meadows. So our mission is providing services, fostering shared experiences, advancing the well-being of people 55 plus in Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows. So maintaining a sense of security and wellness and independence is invaluable, and the society offers this and more for seniors. We consider ourselves a one-stop shop access point that offers a number of supports to aid the independence of seniors. Back in March, we had to close both of our centers and pivot the way that we serve our seniors. Since then, we have reopened, but in order to reopen, we had to pivot, basically recreate our entire operations to figure out how we can offer the majority of our services and programs safely with new policies and procedures in place, and to mitigate the effects of COVID-19 to our vulnerable population. So just a few of the protocols that we've put in place since we've reopened are mandatory masks throughout the building. The only time they can be removed is for a fitness class. During those fitness classes, we've designated spaces, almost like little pods for each person. So it's about 4 meters in between each participant. So it's quite a bit of space. We've decided to put in a one-directional traffic flow through the building, and all of our activities that we offer are not using any shared equipment. So quite a bit of changes. So just the next slide, Janaya. So the Maple Ridge Senior Center is located on 224th, just north of Dewdney. And the Pitt Meadows location is on 119B Avenue, just behind the Family Rec Center and in behind the Westbrook Retirement Community. Pre-COVID, we could boast about 100 activities, programs, and services each week between the 2 centers. But since we reopened in September, we have about 50 programs a week. Our centers help we strive to support an active, healthy lifestyle, assisting people with keeping busy, giving them something to look forward to each week, and obviously helps with mental health. So both centers are open with reduced hours from 9 to 4, Monday to Friday. So next slide, Janaya. So older adults 55 plus are eligible to become a member for $25 a year. This membership gives them access to all of our programs. When you hit 90, you don't have to pay the $25, so it's a little perk there. So some of our activities that are included in our centers are fitness programs like chair yoga, chair fitness, Zumba, sporting games such as iceless curling, table tennis, dance classes, line dancing, and then some high energy aerobic type programs. We have a driving service, so we have a volunteer driving program where our members can take advantage of very low cost drives to doctor's appointment, shopping, coming to the centers. We have low cost dining options. We have an outreach program, a wellness clinic, which is not operating at the moment. Hopefully that'll be in our second phase, and a number of volunteer opportunities for people. And next slide. So how do we offer so much? Well, we're blessed to be able to run an extensive number of programs by utilizing our incredible volunteers. We have 202 volunteers, and we have roughly 15 to 20 volunteers assisting our operations in any given day. In addition, we have experienced, efficient, and compassionate staff in a number of different positions, such as administrative coordinator, volunteer coordinator, activity coordinator, caregiver coordinator, outreach coordinator, bookkeeper, and our social media coordinator, and obviously our kitchen staff. And next slide. So just a little bit more detail about our programs, just starting with our fitness programs. All of these fitness classes are led by qualified BCRPA certified instructors. We have something for every ability to take part in, from mat yoga, chair yoga, high intensity aerobics, low intensity chair fit classes, and OsteoFit for those with osteoporosis. Just a little member quote. This is what one of our members said about some of our fitness programs, and she said, "I just think that the exercise and the sense of well-being that you get when you're at the center and doing things like this really contribute to an improvement in your health. And that cuts back on the cost of medications, your dependence on the medical system, and so on and so forth." So next slide, Janaya. Seniors isolation was and is continuing to be a growing issue and is now more than ever. In 2016, our MSS put a full-time outreach coordinator in place to meet the growing needs. The outreach coordinator is responsible for offering support and assistance to seniors, their family, and caregivers. She offers resources in many areas such as affordable housing options, navigating residential care, isolation support, elder abuse, and advocacy. In recent years, it became clear that there was an unawareness of RMSS and what was offered and available. So she's done a lot to promote our centers and all that we have doing. So you'll see her and some of her team around town with some of the events that we had prior to COVID outside in the community. Most recently, we've added a caregiver connection program to complement these services. And this program is providing support to people providing care to older adults. So they can learn new coping skills, find balance, gain social connectedness through group support programs and one-to-one. And next slide. And we'll actually skip that one because we're not currently doing that. So our dining rooms at the centers would operate for in-house dining, but we've since had to close that. So the majority of our meals are just for takeaway. So at both the Pitt Meadows and Maple Ridge location, you can pick up a meal between 11:30 and 1 to take away, and it's at a very low cost price. Soup, sandwiches, salads, desserts, scones, and frozen meals. So that was quite popular when we were closed. People would come to the centers to pick up takeaway meals. So we also partner with the Maple Ridge Pitt Meadows Community Services with the Meals on Wheels program. So we provide the meals for that program, and just so you can kind of get a sense of how many we serve each year. Last year we did 19,554 meals that went out to people living in the community. And next slide. I touched a little bit on the volunteer driving program. It continues to be very popular. We had 715 hours that were logged by our 11 drivers in the past year. So it's $8 return to wherever they're going in Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows. And about a year and a half ago, we expanded the service because we found a lot of people were needing to go to the cancer clinics and things like that outside of Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows. So there is a cost, a pricing list that our drivers follow. So some of the things that they do are medical trips, shopping, doctor's appointments, visiting friends, that sort of thing, grocery shopping. So the money that it costs people for a drive goes directly to our volunteer drivers to help with their insurance and gas. So Janaya, the next slide, please. So our 2 centers are a great place to volunteer. It's an opportunity for people to share skills and passion and meet new people, build new friendships. People just have to go onto our website and click the volunteer button, and they can easily sign up to be a volunteer. Someone will get back to them once the application is completed online, and you come in for a meeting with our volunteer coordinator, and then a criminal check is done, and if everything checks out, then we find a great spot for each of our volunteers. There's something for everyone. And next slide. So how you can keep up with all that's happening with our centers. We have a Grapevine magazine, which used to be out in the general community, but have since not been able to do that. So you can pick up a hard copy of Grapevine magazine at both of our centers, or you can check it out online on our website. It's always updated. You can see past issues, the current issue. We have a very active Facebook page that provides updates on anything that's happening, and some of the menus for our takeout program. And obviously our website carries all that anyone needs to know about all of the programs and services that we offer. And I just leave you with one quote from one of our members, and he said that it shouldn't be called a senior center. It should be called Centers for Active Living, because senior center tells you that you're old, and I don't know anyone who's old around here. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Maria. That was wonderful, and thanks for all you do. I wanted to say too, with some of those classes, I think some of those, well, like you said, don't call them seniors, but I think they can outdo me and Zumba easily. So
Absolutely, it's
and
it's amazing the stuff
yeah.
that they're doing.
And I've spoken with many of the seniors there, and the programs are the highlight. They are so appreciative. So and we are too, for all you do. Were there any questions for Maria? If you have a question for Maria, you can either put it into the chat, or you can put it into, or you can unmute and turn on your video if you like. We will, like I said, have all this information in the newsletter, so you'll have her contact information if you want to reach out with anything. So with that, we will move on to our next presenter. Thank you again, Maria. And our next presenter is Nicole Chambers, who is the owner of Ridge Meadows Doula Services. And we're very thankful for you being here today. I know you had a bit of a long night, so appreciate it. And maybe you can just touch a little bit on that.
Yes, thank you for having me.
What you do. Go ahead, thank you.
So my name is Nicole. I'm the owner of Ridge Meadows Doula Services. And I was at a birth last night is really where it was at. So last night I attended a birth of one of my clients. So I have not yet slept. So I'm so thankful for everybody helping me get through some of the technical pieces that normally would be rather simple for me. So first I'm going to share what a doula is, because that's often the first question I get asked. Typically people think it is the same as a midwife, and it's entirely different. So a midwife is your care provider, is your doctor, is the person you see for your medical services through your birth. And a doula is somebody that you hire separately. So unfortunately, we're not covered by MSP, although there are some grant opportunities. But we are hired to support the family. And I say the family because there's often two people about to become parents, and both of them need support, right? The person that's birthing often needs physical support, information, and the partner often needs those same pieces, information, education, just little tips and tricks on what to do, a lot of normalizing birth. So we can go on to the next slide, please. Perfect. So this is, oh, sorry, back one. Yes, so this is just such a simple image of somebody in labor here. So as doulas, we support people in their birth. We also have postpartum doulas that support people afterwards. So with a birth doula, you get a few meetings in your home, usually 2 hours each, and they're all about informed choice, which is the backbone to Ridge Meadows Doula Services, coping strategies and tools. So in this image, you'll see a hot water bottle held on the lower abdomen. There's a TENS machine. There's even a phone that has guided meditation tracks. So this person is using all of these tools as they rest through their contractions. Next slide, please. So some of the services we offer are birth doula, postpartum doulas, birth pool and TENS rentals, sleep education, childbirth classes. Our goal is to be a one-stop shop. So I work as a team of, I'm going to say 3 to 6 doulas, because we've got 3 pregnant doulas right now, which just comes with the territory, I suppose. And we all specialize in different pieces to birth. So one of my doulas is a sleep educator. She has gone above and beyond in her doula education to really dive deep into like the neuroscience of sleep. And like, that's an incredible service. So our goal is that we can support families from the first class they take, their childbirth class. What is labor? How does it work? What do I do? When do I go to the hospital? What's home birth? All of these pieces. And we support them through their entire birth with a birth doula. We give them some support directly after they have their baby, or maybe they hire a postpartum doula. Later on, they realize their baby doesn't sleep, because babies don't sleep. So we give them, again, it's a lot of just educating on why babies don't sleep and their brain progressions. And we don't call them, some people like, it's a positive experience, right? Like their brain is rapidly growing, which is what we want. And because they're learning so much new information, they don't want to sleep. And guess where they like to sleep? On their humans that like are raising them, because like that feels really safe. So it's coming from an attachment-based background as well. And then we have classes called baby-led weaning. So those first foods of having a baby. And then people circle around and they hire us again, often for their second and third and fourth babies, because we've supported the whole family from the beginning to the end. So we always say, like, don't Google anything. Email your doula, call your doula. Next slide, please. So with COVID, at the beginning in the spring, for instance, There was a lot of like doulas were allowed in the hospital, then we weren't, and then we were, and then we weren't. So what we've decided, or what the BC Doula Association has helped support us in, is professional registered doulas are allowed in the hospital, of course, with appropriate PPE and name tags and certification and such. So the reason that it's professional registered doulas is because in the early spring, people were only allowed one support person in their labor room. So it was often their partner. So moms and sisters and all of those people that are really beneficial for birth weren't allowed in hospital rooms. They were just trying to limit people. I completely understand that. So moms and doulas, moms and sisters and friends, they were becoming doulas, and they weren't registered, they weren't certified, and they don't understand hospital protocols. So now we have to be registered, which is fine because we've been registered doulas since 2012. But we're not considered that one support person. So hospitals are still saying one support person, and that's often the partner. But we come in addition to. So we've been allowed in the hospital since, I want to say, like right at the beginning of April even. So of course we're wearing PPE, and I've got some different images of us. I always joke with the same doulas, you can't really see our faces. We do a lot of our prenatal education online. So we do a lot of Zoom meetings with our couples. We send a lot of videos because it's harder to physically demonstrate different comfort measures. And then in postpartum, of course, we're wearing PPE. So we're wearing gloves when we're supporting breastfeeding or even bottle feeding your baby. Not all the time, but some of those really critical moments, we've always got our masks on, we've got our hair tied back. In a lot of cases, you'll see in some of these images coming up, doulas wearing scrub caps, and then even different eye coverings during birth. And then in terms of classes, that's something that we've done over COVID, is what we've moved everything over virtually. And this was challenging because I stand up and I walk and I do a lot of presenting in person, and I really like an experiential class. So since February, I've been doing these online, and they've really improved. I've actually seen more clients in 2020 for my childbirth education class than I have in previous years. And we're running classes more frequently, I think because they are online, so we're not renting a space and organizing it and those pieces. So that's been beneficial. So I've supported more families in the what is birth aspect. And we've kept the classes small. So I run them almost every month, and we have between 2 and maybe 5 clients per month. And ideally those classes are done by the time you're 35 weeks. Next slide, please. So here is an image of me going to a birth with all of my PPE on. So again, same doulas, different appearance. So we've talked a little bit about a birth doula. So we support our families before, during, and after birth. And that can be a long period of time. And we don't support somebody for only an 8-hour shift or a 12-hour shift or whatever you imagine. A lot of the working force, hours being, our shifts are unlimited. So thankfully we work on a team. So there's 3 of us birth doulas, and we work in an on-call rotation. So this is a little bit different than most birth doulas, but this allows us to be the best doula for you. So I was at a birth last night. I'm still on call today, but I'm not going to a birth today. My team knows this. And now I'm going to go to bed after this and sleep. So it's a lot of physical comfort measures. A lot of birth, the longest part of birth is actually the first 4 or 5 centimeters. And we spend that time in your home with you because most hospitals don't qualify you to even arrive before 4 or 5 centimeters, unless of course you're having a higher risk birth. So we're in your house with you, and we are keeping you comfortable, normalizing the experience, making sure you're eating, making sure you're going to the bathroom, maybe allowing your partner to have a little bit more rest. And then we transfer to the hospital with you. And again, I've mentioned informed choice. So a lot of our clients, they are just loaded with education and information. And we don't do birth plans for our clients, we do birth preferences. So what that means is we know what their preferences are. We know we can't plan birth, but we want to know what some of the most important pieces of birth is for them. And we do our best to help them achieve that. And sometimes it's just asking questions like, well, what's the benefit and the risk of this procedure that you're wanting to perform? And then partners ask those questions, and we have really great information that is being provided. Hospitals enjoy us. So some people are like, well, do you feel like you're in and you're an advocate and you're competitive? And that is not what a doula is. It should not be what a doula is. We get hired by a ton of nurses actually, because they understand how much work charting is and just all of the extra things that they have to do for birth. So we get hired by a ton of nurses. We work alongside doctors and midwives and obstetricians as well. A postpartum doula is separate. We are in your home after the baby is born, and all of these pictures, of course, are shared with permission. And that's our postpartum doula, Tracy, there. And it's a lot of, again, normalizing, but also I say, like in a 4-hour postpartum doula shift, your doula can hold your baby while you shower and take a nap. She'll do a little bit of general tidying, maybe load your dishwasher, make you a sandwich. So when you wake up and you've showered, which if anybody has had a baby, those are challenging tasks sometimes. And then she leaves you with a sandwich and off you go and you just feel better. One of our doulas also does overnight support, and a lot of that is feeding support and rocking baby and changing diapers so parents can get a good night's sleep. And we have a lot of twin support for that service. Again, our childbirth classes are all of the things about what is birth, psychological, what is induction, what are cesareans. We don't have a preference on how our clients birth. We want our clients to feel like they've got the right information and they're not being coerced into anything, and they can like pause the moment, ask questions, and be respected. And we're lucky to have so many wonderful care providers in our community that really allow those conversations to happen. And lastly, sleep education. I'm going to read this because this is not my area of expertise. So our sleep educator is trained in evidence-based neuroscience and attachment theory. She teaches how infants' brains work and give parents the tools they need to follow their instincts when it comes to babies and not follow sleep training myths. A lot of sleep education is normalizing infant behaviors and then giving a few tips and tricks to support the infant in both the day and the night. At Ridge Meadows Doula Services, we want the entire family to feel listened to and supported when it comes to sleep. Next slide, please. And again, this is another example of PPE. So the photo on the left is one of our doulas and a midwife in PPE, and on the right, this is pre-COVID. And again, these images are shared. Next slide, please. And these are 2 home birth images. So we both support home and hospital birth. A lot of people think a doula is only for like the holistic, unmedicated, natural home birth, and that is just not true. While we love to support home births, because you get to use your own environment and sit on your own toilet and lay in your own bed, there's a lot of comfort in your own home. Of course, you get your midwife coming to your house as well, so that your baby is safe and your instincts kick in. And usually birth is really lovely at home. But we also attend birth in hospital with epidurals and induction and high risk and twins and all of these pieces. We have been doulas Ridge Meadows Doula Services has been around since 2012, and we have attended over 300 births. It's probably closer to 400 by the end of this year. And we've supported, again, hundreds of families and classes. Ridge Meadows Doula Services is also hiring. So we are looking for another doula because I said we have 3 to 6 doulas because 3 of our doulas are pregnant. So we are looking for doulas. The doula training is a rather short education. So we're looking for that and something. So, and infant toddler education and sleep education and a psychology background, something that can, that makes us the experienced doula collective that we are. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about how this is a paid service, but there are grant opportunities. And if you go to our website, www.ridgemeadowsdoulaservices.com, there is grants for Indigenous folks who are either partner is Indigenous, and it's up to $1,000 towards a birth or postpartum doula. And we are qualified under that grant to do that. I believe that's the last slide. Is there one more? Here we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of you hadn't heard of a doula. I'm so happy that we are out here just sharing what our occupation is. We recently won the A-List Doula Services Award. We got a Downtown Business Association Award for, I have to read it, favorite childcare, daycare, preschool / family service. So people are understanding that we're out there. We also do a ton of community volunteering with breastfeeding education in particular. So that's a little bit about who we are. Our website has a lot more information. But I'm being mindful of my time. I could talk about birth forever.
That was great, Nicole. Thank you so much for sharing and the information. Were there any questions for Nicole? If I don't see any come through, I do have a couple. So you mentioned being in the hospital. Is that, I'm not sure if it came up, but are you always in the hospital for births? Or I think you mentioned doing at-home births as well, or?
Yeah, so we support both. Probably just statistically more hospital births happen than home births. So we have about, let's say, 6 to 8 births a month, and likely one of them is a home birth, but the rest are hospital births on average.
And you mentioned doula and midwife. I'm not sure, did you explain the difference between a doula and a midwife? Because I think that's important. I think there's sometimes some confusion and misconception there.
Absolutely. So your midwife goes to school for 4 years at, I don't know, UBC alongside doctors, and they train only in birth. So they are actually the experts on low-risk births. They have more birth hands-on training than a lot of GPs initially do. So they are the experts on the medical side of birth. We're more of an advocate or a physical and emotional support person. And we work closely with the midwives. We've got good relationships with the midwives locally. And they know when a good referral is out there as well. My other hat is I'm a counselor. So if in particular they have a client who's really anxious about birth, I feel like we do get a lot of clients, and I mean, a lot of people are anxious. You've never done this task, and for some reason society shares all of these horror stories of birth instead of how incredible birth can be. So so we get a lot of first-time parents, and we're almost always hired again.
So then there is chances where you're working alongside the midwives. Is that what you had said?
Absolutely. I would say probably 75% of our births are with midwives. So you get a midwife and a doula. But if not, if you're in the hospital birth with a GP or an obstetrician, it's us alongside the nurse, and the GP or obstetrician is there at the end stages of birth.
Great. I don't see any questions coming in, so you're free to. We do have your contact information, so you're free to sign off. I know you need some rest, so thank you for all you do and for being here and sharing with us the incredible work you guys do. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Take care. So we're going to move on to our next presenter, which is Doug, and he is the executive director with Alouette Addiction Services. So Doug, if you just wanted to unmute and turn on your video, and we can go ahead with your presentation. Or perhaps we'll get Janaya to do that. Oh. There we go.
How about that? Is that good? Can you hear me
Welcome,
okay?
Doug. Yes, great. Thank you for being here.
Hi,
Go ahead.
I'm speaking to you from beautiful downtown Maple Ridge. just to clarify, I am the interim executive director of Alouette Addictions. The permanent executive director, Annika Poligato, is away on leave, and I'm covering for her while she's away. So I am the interim executive director here. So I'm not a permanent posting here. So just to tell you a bit about Alouette Addictions, it's been around since 1991, and we can break our services down into a couple of areas. The first is housing. We do a lot of housing support, housing outreach to people that are either homeless or at the risk of becoming homeless. We assist people by helping them find suitable housing. Once they're in that housing, we support them. We provide all sorts of support services for people that are in marginal housing, and we help them find permanent living arrangements that meet their needs. And hopefully people that are at risk of becoming homeless, we work with them as well. We have a number of outreach housing workers that work out of this building, and they're out there in the community. And they work very, very closely with other community organizations. So that program is funded by BC Housing. The second part of our program is what we call our OAT clinic, which stands for opioid agonist treatment, which is more familiar to people as a methadone clinic. So we are treating people with opioid addictions, and we treat it with substitutes like Suboxone and methadone. And we have a clinic here that does screens and helps people manage their addiction. We have 2 doctors here, and we have medical office assistants that help people with their methadone treatment. And a lot of people come in every day. Some people come in for screens, and that is more of a medical service. So that's the second service we provide. The third is outreach prevention. So we have youth, children, and family counselors that work outside of the agency. A lot of the times they work in the schools. We have 3 staff members that work as counselors that connect with children, youth, and families who are affected by addiction. Either they are in families where there is one of the parents is addicted, or a family member is addicted, or they themselves are addicted. So, or at high risk of becoming addicted. So we have outreach counselors that work with those children, youth, and their families. And then we have counselors. So we have a number of counselors here that do both individual sessions and group counseling for people that are either contemplating going off drugs, or who are off drugs and alcohol and really need support to maintain their sobriety or maintain their treatment plans. We work off what we call a harm reduction model, which is a model that says, we're not often looking for sobriety necessarily. The people that we work with may not be off drugs or alcohol, but what we do is we work with people where they are and try to make sure that they are safe. Of course, during COVID, we have opened and are now operating an isolation center for Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows. And the isolation center meets the needs of 2 populations. The first is people that have been tested for COVID and need a quarantine period while their test results come in. And secondly, people who have tested positive for COVID and need to be quarantined. And we run a COVID center. It's fully staffed, and we are able to assist people to become quarantined and stay safe while they're dealing with COVID. One of the issues that we have is, prior to even the pandemic, the number of opioid overdose deaths in this province was skyrocketing. It's gone through the stratosphere. We've never seen people that have been addicted and overdose deaths to the rate that we have seen in the last number of years. And in fact, there are more people during the pandemic that have died from overdoses than have died from actual COVID infection. So we have a double whammy, if you will. We're trying desperately to keep people safe to keep people socially isolated, to keep people in their homes, or if they don't have homes that they can stay in where they're going to be safe. We attempt to find places where they're going to be safe. So our job since January essentially has been keeping people in place, keeping them supplied with food, cleaning supplies, and other things that they need to maintain their living, and just keep them safe. And I have to say that I'm relative newcomer to Maple Ridge in my career. I haven't really worked that much in Maple Ridge, but I have been amazed by the amount of cooperation that we've seen from all the other different organizations, even including the municipality. Salvation Army has been amazing. They've been such a wonderful help. The food banks have been terrific in helping us get food out to people that need to be isolated and need to keep their social circles really small in order to avoid the pandemic. We have really tried to keep people safe, but at the same time, we've never closed our doors. We still maintain an active clinic for methadone treatment. We are doing a number of different ways of reaching out to people. So we do Zoom counseling calls. We do lots of checkups with people via telephone and cell phone. We are doing socially distanced counseling sessions. We're doing groups every week via Zoom calls. We're just trying to find different and innovative ways of maintaining client contact with people that really need our services and really need to be supported during a time that's very, very, very scary for a lot of people. And the population that we traditionally work with is one that is very, very vulnerable, very fragile. So someone with an addiction has got a compromised immune system, and with the introduction of COVID-19 infection, it creates even more of a risk to people. So our workers have taken lots of specialized training in how to keep social distance, but at the same time maintain service. So we still have people coming in for screens to screen into our opioid addictions program. We've really tried to make sure that they're safe, our staff are safe, our volunteers are safe. A number of the other things that we have a rig dig and a clean team program that picks up paraphernalia from the downtown area. That's again a program that's funded both through Fraser Health Authority and through the Chamber of Commerce or the Business Improvement Association to keep the downtown areas clean of paraphernalia that could pose a risk to people. What else can I tell you about our programs? We've really been challenged to reach out to children and youth and their families during the pandemic, because we used to use the schools as sort of a base of operations. But when the schools were shut down, we then were looking at alternative ways. So we've developed walking counseling programs. We have a canopy out in our parking lot where we do art therapy with children. As I was saying earlier, we're doing groups, support groups for people in addictions virtually. We're just trying to do our best to make sure that people affected by addictions in this community continue to receive the services that they need, but in a way that is safe for them and safe for the staff that we have here. And one of the big jobs that we do is getting people to appointments in Vancouver, perhaps, people that have other medical issues, not necessarily having to do with their addiction, but certainly part of their whole health. And one of the things that we've been challenged again to do is to move people around safely. Again, not extending any additional risk to themselves or to others around them. And that, as you can imagine, has its own set of challenges. But I have to say that we're pretty proud of the fact here that we've, in the last number of months, not only have we kept our doors open and tried to serve people in new and innovative ways, but we've also expanded our services really in light of what we're seeing out there in the community. We haven't, I don't think, been very successful in reducing the number of overdose deaths. It's a real challenge for all of us, and there's no one answer, but of course, safe supply and pandemic prescribing is something that we're all really exploring to see how to do that safely, and essentially keep people alive. So I know it sounds very melodramatic, but essentially that's what we're doing in the last number of months is trying to keep the people that we work with alive and maintain their health. So that's what we've been doing, and our staff have been absolutely fantastic. But again, I have to reiterate that the amount of support and cooperation that we've gotten from all these other groups in this community has been absolutely key in keeping people well. And I can't say enough for the tradition of cooperation that I've experienced here in Maple Ridge in the last year. It's been quite remarkable and really key to keeping people safe. So I think the people in Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows are well served by all sorts of different groups here that really, really come together as one to keep people well. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I'd love to answer any questions that people may have.
Did we have any questions for Doug? Doug, so how do those in need find help through Alouette Addiction Services?
That's a really good question.
Like how do they reach out to you? Because not all of them have access. So is there anything that we can do to support that and have them reach out to you?
Well, one of the things that we're working on, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. We are really trying to update our website right now and get lots of information out. And we would be really grateful for people if they linked up with us and was able to get that information out to various people. People find us. They find us through word of mouth. They find us through referrals from other organizations. So we get lots of referrals from Fraser Health, from the hospitals, from corrections, from other outreach workers, other agencies. They tend to find us. That's not been a problem. But I'm amazed by the number of people that live and work in Maple Ridge that have no idea that we're here. And again, it's addictions is not something that's top of mind with most people, and it's something we don't like to think of. That addictions is here in this community, and it affects pretty well everybody in the sense that most of us have known or are aware of someone who has suffered with an addiction or struggles with addiction, and we're here to help. And our staff are very, very clear about the kind of services, and we try to change. We've changed our hours around so to be more available to people. We've changed the way that we provide service, and it's been really good. It's been a time of learning for all of us, and we've had to learn more about how best to extend our services to people that really, really need them. So the amount of harm reduction supplies that we've got out there in the community is amazing. The stuff is just flowing off the shelves. And just to keep people safe, just to keep people well and keep people isolated.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, and thanks to all of the staff at Alouette Addiction Services. I know how hard they work.
Thanks for the chance of telling our story. It's a really important one.
Yeah, and like I said, this will be shared so people can access that, and I might I'd like to maybe reach out and see if there's any, pamphlets or information like that we can perhaps share, because we are in the downtown area.
Yep, that would be terrific. Thank you.
To get that information out as well, and mentioning just the cooperation, collaboration, however you want to put it, of the other organizations. I mean, that's what community is about. And yes, absolutely. I mean, as a chamber, we support business, but it all in turn affects our communities. So
yes, it does. Yeah.
So appreciate that. Looking like there's no other questions. I think we will sign off for here.
Thank you.
Again, we'll get this recording posted hopefully today and shared out through our newsletter. And we have all the contact information there, so you'll be able to find that through the presentation online and through the newsletter as well. So we thank everyone for participating, and please take care, and we will see you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.